Happy Wednesday. It's June 24th and it looks like it's going to be a nice day to spray. Have a few things I need to do yet with Liberty or glufosinate. You want to spray when the sun's shining and things are warm. So there's no need to get in a real big hurry this morning. It's getting close to 8 o'clock, I guess, now. But I need to pull that Roundup tote off, which is not totally empty, but pretty much empty. I'm going to just pull that into the back of the pickup, and that way we can get some out of it if we need to, but it's off of the trailer, so we don't have to take it to the field when we take that to the farm that's a ways away. Everything else I'll just tender here at the home place, because it's not very far away for most of our fields. I also need to see if the John Deere A that is hooked onto the trailer that has the AMS on it, it's a little pickup box trailer, will start, because it hasn't run for a while. I tried it briefly yesterday and it cranked, but it seemed like it flooded. So we'll see how that goes. Not sure how well the camera's going to work in the dark corner of the shed back here, but here's our pallet of AMS that I've pulled a few bags off of, and the beautiful pickup trailer, which I think was a pickup that my dad used in the late 60s or early 70s sometime. And this is the John Deere A. Not 100% sure what year it is because the serial number tag is gone, but it's a pretty late model style day that my grandfather bought new and used on the corn picker for a number of years, or that was its most recent heavy duty use, I guess we'll say. But we've had it for 20 years or more probably at this point, and it just gets mostly used as a utility, and my dad's taking it on some tractor rides. Should really do a full repaint restore on it sometime, but too many other projects, I guess. So let's see what's going to happen here. We got lucky. Boom. So we'll get this moved. Hopefully I can not kill it. So maybe we'll let it idle for a little bit and warm up slightly. But we'll get that AMS moved over by where I'm loading the sprayer, and then go pull the pickup out and deal with that chemical tote. And hopefully by that point I'll be able to mix up a batch and have it be halfway warm to get started spraying. So I guess when I said late model, I should clarify that would be like a 1951, 52-ish era. I got the Armstrong power steering. Should have used a lower gear, but I think she's going to pull through. I'm going to air up the tires on the trailer because it hasn't moved for a while and they're probably kind of low. Got the trailer with the AMS pulled up here into a spot where the bags are kind of handy to grab. Been some minor improvements in tailgate technology over the last 70 years. Thankfully, clutch technology also, because hand clutches are not my favorite thing in the world. So I'm going to get that tote moved off and then get the sprayer loaded up and get to work. we're in the field, ready to get started. And since I rinsed out the boom, since the beginning of the day, I had just straight water in the boom right now. So I need to spray a little bit, either where I'm gonna go back over today or where I've already sprayed in order to flush that out and get chemical into the boom before I start a fresh pass. So I outlined this field the end of last week, so did all the edges along the corn here and the fence lines and the windbreak on the backside of the farmstead here. So I'm just going to turn the boom on and drive over top of this pass, and then I'll actually start spraying. So turn the mapping on so that it's painted green on the return pass. These roads are pretty short. I won't do the full pass. I'll probably just do maybe 150 yards or so, and that should be enough to get the straight water flushed out of the boom and then make sure that I kill what I need to in the return pass. This field's kind of rough, so hard to take footage actually spraying, but you can see maybe there's some color difference in the actual soybeans where I've sprayed and where I haven't, and also you can tell that the weeds are dying. So there's some water hemp right in there, I think. It's hard to tell on the tiny screen on the back of this, but all the leaves are pretty fried off of there, which is a good sign. Hopefully those go ahead and die. We'll scout next week probably sometime and kind of see how things are looking, then decide if the weed is too big and it doesn't totally die or it starts coming back. That's a good reason to come back with a second pass, and that's somewhat expected with Liberty if you have big stuff. I'm planning on at least doing the outline of everything a second time, and might do the whole fields a second time, depending on kind of where we're at on stuff or how much more comes up, depending on probably partly how much rain we get in the next week or two before the beans get the rows canopied, hopefully. But you can also tell all the volunteer corn is turning pretty yellow, which is from the clethodim, and this stuff over here along the waterway, you can tell the grass there looks pretty sickly also, which is what we want to see. Well, believe it or not, there's a rock bottom crossing in here. It hasn't been used for a while though, so I don't think we used it last year during harvest, and the year before I don't know that we did either. So we're gonna try to pull the sprayer through here and hope that I don't regret this. We're gonna go pretty easy though, because I have a feeling it could be a little rough in spots. I have taken the 4-wheeler through here, so I know it's not like a total disaster. As I thought it might be, actually. Alright, so we're into the new field on the other side of the creek here, and this is one of the ones that I didn't get outlined last week, so you can see there's quite a bit of grass along the edges there. So I'm going to get this guy outlined and get to work. Driving out this grass lane to go refill the sprayer, and there seems to be just tons of butterflies in here. Hoping that they're monarchs and not painted ladies, because painted ladies are thistle caterpillars and they eat soybeans. That one that was on the clover looked like a painted lady. So I hope I'm not going to be back out here spraying insecticide in a week or two. There are some thistles in this grass also, so I hope they're working on them. But it is a little bit fun to be driving through here and be surrounded by a whole bunch of butterflies, I guess. And I'm driving slow because it seems like these grass lanes tend to attract a lot of burrowing critters like badgers and gophers and things like that. And it wouldn't be that big of a deal that they dig their homes in there and pile up dirt if they filled them in when they left, but they don't do that. So then you end up with a hole and a pile of dirt beside it. And there's grass, so you can't really do much about it. I mean, we've tried to blade them in with a blade and tractor a little bit to try to smooth things up, and that helps for a week, and then it's back to terrible again. I think that those critters like to find spots where there's grass that they can dig a hole in up on top of a hill and be able to see predators coming and such. And I don't have any good solutions to solve that problem. So I'm open to suggestions, I guess, if anybody has any secrets for keeping critters out of grass lanes. my chemicals, so I'm gonna go home and refill. So this is the field that I had a spot where the center section didn't turn on the sprayer. Never had pre-emerge herbicide. Came back and just sprayed off the rye with a four-wheeler, or attempted to, it looks like here. But was getting ready to post-spray right now, and came up to the flags, so I was going to take a look and kind of see what there is here. I haven't walked through it at all yet, so I don't know what we're gonna find. Wait, I'm on the wrong side. So that's just general rye that didn't die. This is the stuff that didn't have pre, and that makes sense because we have a lot more pigweeds. If you look down the rows, so you can see the two orange flags down there. Hopefully, if I can, I really can't see the orange spots on this tiny screen. But you can see over here, not very much weed-wise up, and what is little, like that's maybe 1.5 inches. There's ones that I saw earlier. There's one that's maybe 3.5, 4. Some more little guys. I think that's lamb's quarter maybe. What's the bottom look like? Not 100% sure. Usually lamb's quarter is a little bluer than that. But then when we get over here, you can see just to the right of the tractor is the first flag, and then the second flag is kind of in the middle of the boom. But you can see there's a lot more weeds both in the row and in between. Looks like maybe more in the row really, but definitely some bigger guys. So probably I'm gonna shift down a gear and make sure that I put down a little heavier rate on this just to make sure that I get stuff killed. That's a lamb's quarter, a little larger one. Which I didn't have a spectacular stand of rye in some of this, so this is not necessarily too unexpected. I thought maybe that the rye, like the mulch from the rye, would hold stuff back a little better than this though. We didn't have great growth on the rye last year just because the fall was a little bit late and then turned cold, so there wasn't much growth from the fall. Those are, you know, definitely bigger than I want to see when I'm post spraying. As far as the case for cover crops go, I'd love to make it work so that I could skip the pre-emerge herbicide behind the planter, but I don't know if that's in the cards, or at least would need a little more biomass than we had this year to be able to get that suppression, and maybe would need to let it grow a little longer with the beans. But then you run the risk of suppressing the beans and not doing as well yield-wise. Anyway, I'm glad it was a small experiment because we got some pretty good-sized water hemps. We don't like that. field. This particular spot isn't really that interesting to watch the booms because it's flat, which means I don't have to pick up around anything really. Pretty square on one end and angled at the other. Just came off the square end, and we'll have an angle down here. So one of those previous passes you may have noticed the boom sections going off in order as we went into that headland. Sorry, trying to talk and hold my steering wheel at the same time here because no auto steer on this baby. Putting on about 20 gallons to the acre, or hopefully exactly 20 gallons to the acre. Spraying Liberty, actually a generic glufosinate, generic Liberty, which will kill grass and broadleaves, and then the clethodim is primarily for the volunteer corn. Most of the corn that I grow doesn't have Liberty genetics, or isn't supposed to, but Liberty's a little bit weak on grass, especially when it's 18 inches tall, like some of this volunteer corn is. So spiking the clethodim, which is a grass killer herbicide, to help out with that and get a little better kill on grass in general. But things are going pretty well. I think this is the 5th load today, so got about 125, a little over 125 acres done, and probably going to do one more. Forecast for tomorrow looks good. They were talking rain earlier, but I think the last I saw looked like it was going to be dry. So hopefully should have not too much trouble getting done spraying beans tomorrow, as long as we don't break anything.